This week we're going to be talking about slope. This is the beginning of your slope packet, part 1. This is the cover page. All right, so first thing you need to be reminded of is how to find ordered pairs in the coordinate plane. We're going to recall the origin, the quadrants of the coordinate plane. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The origin sits right here where the x and y axis intersect. And then below that, I have labeled where these ordered pairs, these x and y values, are located on the coordinate plane. So you always start at the origin. For instance, for letter A, the coordinates for letter A are 2, 1. So we start at the origin, we go to the right 2 and up 1, because 2 is positive. For letter B, we go to the left 3 for negative 3 and up 4. Okay, so just a quick review of how to place ordered pairs in a coordinate plane. Here's a little more practice for you. The x and y axis intersect at the origin. Positive coordinates are to the right and up from the origin. Negative coordinates are to the left and down from the origin. And it goes through a couple examples for you and labels them: point A, B, C, D, and the origin also has a dot placed there. It asks you to graph the following points, so go ahead and graph those, and here's the answer key for those: C, D, and E. And then it also tells you to identify what letter corresponds to those ordered pairs. For this example, they are putting the positive in front of the 4 or in front of the 2, just reminding you which one's positive, which one's negative. All right, next page. Some more ordering pairs and graphing these points. This tells you directions that you follow from the origin when you are graphing those ordered pairs. This is your origin. Okay. The bottom part asks you to label according to where those ordered pairs fall on the coordinate plane. There are all the way from A to M labeled for you. Okay, you can practice. You could hit pause and practice putting these in and then check your work. Now let's get into slope. Why is this important when we're working with slope? Well, before we do that, let's just make sure we know our quadrants. Our quadrants are 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they go counterclockwise quadrants. They start here and work their way to the left and back around. There's some more practice naming ordered pairs. Write the ordered pair for each shown at the right, like G would be negative 2, 2. H is 1, negative 1. J is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4. K is negative 2, negative 2. Okay. L is 1, 3. And letter M falls right on the y-axis. Okay. Ask you to label, to plot these points on the coordinate plane. So there they are plotted. You can take a minute to look at that. And the bottom ones are plotted as well. Let's get into some slope, dude. And you're going to watch a video called Slope, Dude. Okay. We ready? You can always rewind and come back. All right. What is slope? Slope is rise over run. It's the steepness of a hill. Okay? So, like if you're in a wheelchair and you have to go up the incline to get onto a sidewalk or into a building, you don't want that to be too steep, okay? Because then you wouldn't be able to get up into the building or whatever. So how do we calculate slope when we've got 2 ordered pairs? All right, these are called your ordered pairs, and they consist of an x and a y coordinate. Since there's 2 of them, we have x1, y1. This is our first set of ordered pairs. That's why we put the 1 beside them. And we have our second set of ordered pairs. That's what that subscript indicates, the set. So we take these numbers and we plug them into this formula. For the change in y, or the up and down, the vertical change, divided by the side-to-side change, okay? So I labeled them, and for y2, I put in 7. And for y1, I put in 1, and it's always takeaway. For x2, the value was 5. Take away the value of x1 is -2. Make sure you put the negative numbers inside parentheses. And when you do the math computation, the calculation, 7 take away 1 is 6. And 5 take away -2 is 7. And that's how you calculate slope from 2 points. So just go through these. You can practice setting them up. You want to label your ordered pairs, x1, y1, x2, y2. So you know how to substitute these back into the formula for slope. We also use the letter M to represent slope. Rise over run. All right. So you can take a few minutes to get those set up and check my math and check your math and make sure that you are doing the computations right. Notice that if the value is negative, I put it inside a parenthesis. So I did not do that with my -2. I probably should have. Okay? -4 should have been in a parenthesis. All right. So hopefully you're calculating these right. You can try calculating them and go back and check your answers. This is how we calculate slope. It is the up and down change on the vertical axis, vertical, divided by the side-to-side change. Side-to-side change. Horizontal change. Next page. All right, so there are certain situations where you're going to have a horizontal line and a vertical line. And when you have a horizontal line that's graphed, like this one right here, the slope on a horizontal line is called a zero slope. It has zero slope to it. It has no steepness to it, okay? And it's always represented with y equals some number. Y could equal 100. Y could equal -1. Y could equal -5. So you'd go start at the origin, go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you would do a horizontal line that goes through -5. Okay? The next are the vertical lines. These lines go straight up and down. That's what vertical means. And they go through that x-axis at that point, that one point. So up and down lines do not have a slope. It's called undefined slope. Slope, undefined, okay? There's no steepness at all. Actually it's very steep, but you can't even walk up and down it. It's undefined. And these are zero slope. Horizontal or zero, vertical lines have an undefined slope. And they are always represented with x equals something, some number. So you could do one like this, x equals 2, and draw the vertical line through 2, and that would be an undefined slope, x equals 2. Next page. Horizontal and vertical lines. Horizontal lines move from left to right. And you're always going to get the equation. It's always going to say y equals something for a horizontal line. Horizontal line, y equals. The slope is 0. Okay? Vertical line moves up and down is x equals. Vertical line is always x equals. And the slope on that is undefined. Okay? So we have a couple examples here. These are the examples. The horizontal line is side to side. Vertical line is undefined. This is a 0 slope. And this is undefined. It's also called no slope. All right, so I just hand drew a couple coordinate planes here. And you can do the same. Draw your own, sketch your own. And I graphed the line y equals 2. Y equals 2 goes through 2 on the y-axis, straight across. It's a horizontal line. Anytime it says y equals some number, gives you a horizontal line. It has 0 slope. If you have a x equals something, x equals -3 in this case, you get a vertical line. A vertical line has undefined slope. Okay? All right, let's get to it. All right, if you're looking at a graph, and these are your graphs, okay, and you see the line on the graph that they've graphed here, this is the line right there, goes through those points. I labeled the 2 points for you. I gave them their ordered pairs. This is -1, 2, and this is 1, 0. Falls right on the x-axis. This one is right here. Okay, and draw the line through them. So if you want to calculate slope, you have to use this formula to calculate slope. I also listed the points here. So then when I do that, I say this is x1, y1. This is my first set. That's what the 1 represents. x2, y2. And then I just take them and plug them into the formula. So I'll show you this one. Is y2 is 2, take away 0. That goes in the numerator. And on the bottom we have -1, take away 1. Goes in the denominator. 2 take away 0 is 0. -1 minus 1 is -2. Well, as you can tell, 0 divided by anything is, wait a minute, I'm missing something here. y2, 2 minus 0 is not 0. 2 minus 0 is 2. So that gives me, how in the world? -1 minus 1. My calculations are off right here. Ignore this. Okay, so -1 minus 1 is -2. So the slope on this one is actually -1. Because if I simplify, 2 divided by -2 is -1. I had that one wrong. Okay, remember, horizontal lines have a 0 slope. Okay? And the rest of these, I've set them up. Hopefully, you're going to have to double check my math here, because I did these in my head. I should have just stuck with it and did the old slope here into the formula, which, see what happens when you don't follow your own? You got to put them in the formula. -1 minus 3, numerator, and denominator is -2 minus 1. So on the top you get -1 minus 3 is -4. On the bottom you get -2 minus 1. Oh my goodness, my word. Let me double check my math here, because something is off. What was in my brain when I was doing? Okay, hang on. Let me calculate slope again. X, y, x sub 2, y sub 2. So it's y2 minus y1, which is going to give me -4. And x2 minus x sub 1, which is going to give me -3. So my answer for the slope on this one is actually negative divided by negative is a positive 4/3. Okay. All right. Okay. So moving right along. Let me see if there's any vertical lines. Here's one. Vertical line is undefined, straight up and down. The equation for that one would be x equals -2. All right, so I'll leave these up so you can, and I also have this printed for or attached. All right, your turn, more practice. Plug these into the formula. X sub 1 minus and x sub 2, y sub 2. So you've got to label your points like they do and use the slope formula. This is your slope formula. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Okay, so some more practice for you here. Do double check my math. Make sure that I didn't make any mistakes because I was rushing through this. When you have a 0 in the denominator, it's an undefined. You cannot have 0 in the denominator. So that means that the line is undefined, so it would be a vertical line, like that. Okay? And you're welcome to do the evens. If you want to shoot me an email with your answers, we can double check them. In Canvas, of course. All right, now we're going to practice finding the slope of a line from a graph. This is super easy to do. So here's my first graph. Here's the line, right? It goes through those 2 points. There they are. So I have to calculate the slope of this line. Well, this line is leaning up and to the right, so I know the slope is positive. And you'll see that in the video. But to calculate the slope, I go from one point on the line to the next point on the line that is identified. So to get there, I have to move up 1 and to the right 1. And up 1 means positive 1. To the right 1 is also positive 1. So 1 divided by 1 is 1. So the slope, we say the slope of this line, the slope is a positive 1. Okay? If we look at number 2, we have a vertical line. So we should already know that a vertical line, or if we remember, a vertical line has a undefined slope. Okay? This one is undefined. It's a vertical line. Number 3, let's walk you through that one. So they have identified 2 points on this line. And they want you to calculate the slope of this line that goes through those 2 points. Okay? So there's no math here besides, you're not plugging it into that slope formula. You're just counting off. And I'll show you what I'm talking about right now. So I'm going to start at this point and I'm going to work my way to this point. I have to move vertically first. So I move down 3. That's the negative 3. And I move to the right 2. That's my positive 2. So down 3 and right 2. And that becomes my slope. And when I say down 3, it is a negative 3. To the right 2 is a positive 2. So that's positive and that's negative. And that's the way it gets written down here to write your slope. Slope's always written as a fraction, unless it can be simplified as a whole number. Okay? All right, horizontal line, we have defined those have 0 slope. And that is an x equals negative 2. That's the equation of that line. Let's practice number 7. All right, so here's the 2 points they have identified on this line. Here's your line that goes through the 2 points. All right, so we have to determine the slope, so we're going to move vertically first. So we're going to start here, and we have to move up 2. That's a positive 2. And to the right 1. That's positive 1. So it's positive 2 over positive 1. And if we reduce that fraction, or we simplify that fraction, it becomes 2. So you guys should try calculating the slope of these, moving from one point to the next. Move vertically and then horizontally. Move vertically and then horizontally. A downward movement is negative. A to the left movement is also negative. Let me show you number 4. So if I move down, I'm going along this line here. And I have to move down how many? 1, 2, 3. So that's a negative 3. So my vertical movement is down 3, which is represented with a negative 3, and to the left 1, which is represented with a negative 1. That means I went left to get to the next point. That's to get from this point on the line to this point on the line, which that's how I calculate slope. So when I have a negative number divided by another negative number, the slope of this line, which is represented with an M, is actually negative 3 divided by negative 1, which is a positive 3. So we say the slope to this line is a positive 3. Okay? So you guys go ahead and test yourself on those last couple ones. On this page, you are going to be, I believe this is page 13. Yes, this is page 13. So you have an assignment to use the slope formula, which is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. You are to use that formula, sorry, excuse me, to calculate slope. And I want you to do the odds. So that's 1 through 9. You're going to turn it in. You're going to do it, and then I'm going to give you the key to it. Okay. So it's the odds 1 through 9. All right. I'll set up the first one for you. So the value of y sub 2 is negative 15. So let's set this up. Negative 15, take away, the value of y sub 1 is negative 16. So that gets put in parentheses there. Then we draw our fraction bar, and we do the denominator. We substitute in for the denominator. X sub 2 is negative 7. And x sub 1 is 19. So that we say minus 19. Now we do our calculations. And let's see what we get here. Negative 15 plus a positive 16 is a positive 1 divided by negative 7 minus 19 is negative 26, I believe. Yes. So that is the slope of the line that goes through those 2 points. So you have to calculate the rest. Okay? And I'll put up the key. On this page, we want you to calculate the slope given the graph. So what I do is I see the graph and I name the ordered pairs. Okay? On this page, you need to complete the evens. Okay? Complete evens. So over here. But I worked out the odds over here for you. So I identified the 2 points. On these, those 2 points you don't have the ordered pairs for them. I gave you the ordered pairs based on where those points were located, plugged it into the formula, and came up with the slope. So I just want to show you guys these. Do check my math. I don't show any math on number 3. Not a good thing to do here. Let me show you the math. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 goes in the numerator. The denominator is x sub 2 minus x sub 1. See, my y's are on the top, and then my x's get subtracted on the bottom in the same order. So let's check my math here. Oh gosh. Negative 5 plus a positive 1 is negative 4. And 3 take away negative 2 becomes plus positive is 5. So that does work. These 2 slopes are matching. The negative symbol can be out front, simply like this, or it could be attached to the 4 or the 5. So all 3 of these are correct. And that is the end of the video that goes over the notes with you. So let me know if you have questions, but you need to complete the evens on this page. Okay, so do some extra practice and I will give you the key.